You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
You've got a great idea for a small business, but you just can't get it off the ground. You want to be your own boss, set your own hours. Well, new year means new opportunities, and Shopify's got you covered to help get your venture off the ground. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. And they help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard. Don't kick yourself next holiday season when your 2025 resolution list looks the same as it does today. Make it happen with Shopify. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/income.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
What is happening, good people? Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast. This week, I have some longtime supporters and now good buddies, Steve and Mark from Summer School Electronics. We are here to talk about how gas is basically incurable. And no, I don't mean the kind that you can get Gas X for. I mean the kind that most people who listen to this podcast are afflicted with: gear acquisition syndrome. On this one, we talk about our love of gear and how I don't think it's ever really going to go away, and how it is a bit of an addictive thing that is also seemingly contagious. This is a really great episode. We get the behind-the-scenes story on how Summer School Electronics started, and I think it'll be something that a lot of you can relate to and understand. And on top of that, they're super cool people making super cool stuff, so who doesn't love that? I want to get into this episode as quick as possible, but I do want to say, just a reminder, this is dropping the week before NAMM. Summer School is going to be at NAMM. I'm going to be at NAMM at the Stringjoy booth. I'll be running around like a maniac, probably trying to keep my head straight. But please, please, please do stop and say hi if you happen to see a confused cube-shaped human with a funny beard running around. That's probably me. So please stop and say hi if you do feel so inclined. I would love to talk to you. And I really appreciate everybody who came up last year and the year before and all that stuff. And if you choose to come by the Stringjoy booth, I'm sure we'll have some new stuff to talk to you about and all that good stuff. So stop by, say hi, and hopefully I'll see you at NAMM. And if not, I'll see you on the internet. So without further ado, let's get into this one with Mark and Steve from Summer School Electronics. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland. With me today, I have Mark Turley and Steve Peterson from Summer School Electronics. This is a long overdue episode, but better late than never. What's up, dudes?
How's it going, buddy?
Holla back.
Going good. Thanks for squeezing this in today on a surprise basis. I had another show that I was going to do, and that person's like, I can't. And I was like, well, I was literally like, well, on my to-do list today is to text Mark and see when we can do it. And I was like, probably not today, but just saying it's available. And you said, let's go. So here we are. It's great. I love surprises.
Yeah. I was in the middle of teaching a class of middle schoolers, and they're like, why are you on your phone? I'm like, this is kind of important. You give me a minute. You solve that math problem. I got to figure this out.
There is a guy in a shed who wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I was at the gym, and Mark texted me, and I was just as happy as I could be.
I was at the gym myself.
It's a big deal to a small amount of people.
This conversation.
Yeah, we got to do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. So I think the best place to start would be the kind of normal place to start, which is getting your guys' backstory. I know about the company. Obviously, you've supported the podcast a few times, and that was much appreciated. I've got several of your units here, but I don't actually know the full tale of summer school electronics, and I don't know your individual stories. So I think starting there is probably the place to go. So whoever wants to take the first batch, go for it.
Boss man, go.
Steve, you might. Oh, I get to go. Okay. Yeah. So Steve and I have been friends since we were like 14 or 15 years old and played in bands off and on for the last however many decades that is. It's been a while. Yeah. So recently, we were playing in an all 90s cover band for about 10 years. It just broke up.
Mm-hmm.
But during that time, this little thing, COVID, happened. And so everybody was, working from home. I don't know if you were there. It was wild. So my day job is that I'm a teacher. So when that happened, my living room became my classroom. And it was just, we didn't have gigs. Once summertime hit, there was no one to teach and there were no gigs. So I bought a pedal kit, started trying to do one of those, the BYOC, build your own clone kits. And
rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I did a couple of those. And from then I talked to a buddy who was also just like a hobbyist builder. And he was like, oh, you can go to these sites. And here's where you can just get a PCB and you can source your parts from here. And you can pick instead of just getting it all in a kit. You can like customize it more. So I did that for about a year and some change. And then I got into breadboarding and modding and all that. And I was like, I want to make a pedal that's like mine. And I want to have my dog's face on it. But I know that I'm not great at visual art. So Steve had been doing all the t-shirts for our band. So I sent him like a mock-up and I was like, hey, I want to make a pedal. Like, these are the specs. Here's like a quick little drawing. Make a good version of this. And then
Nice.
I was like, I have it, but I can't make it good. So we did that. And then I ordered like a dozen of them. And they sold out. So I'm like, oh, I guess I got to make like 20 more. And maybe we'll try to do a second model that has my other dog's face on it. Thinking like this will just be a fun, silly thing. And we just kind of kept going. And it's been 3.5 years at this point. It's been like a legit kind of company.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, you seem to be, where a lot of people have a similar story, right? Starting from kind of the hobbyist perspective. But you're, from my observation, one of the few people that have started out that way recently that has really tried to take the bull by the horns and make it into something more than that. And was that wasn't the plan in the beginning, I'm assuming, based on the story?
Well, at the time, like I said, we were playing in bands, and I have always done different projects, like done bands where like I'm the guy who had to book the tour or had to schedule the recording time, and always kind of like been the organized / disorganized creative of like putting it together,
Yeah. Mark's the band dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when it was like, well, let's try to do this, I was like hesitant because I didn't want to be like, let's get 1,000 of them and it's going to be great. And then I'm like, well, now this is stuck in my garage for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to do it in like small little steps, but then I was like, we could probably do a few more. Let's take a chance on this. And like I had sent one to Josh Scott, because a lot of the G.A.S. videos early on were just really helpful. Like a lot of his earlier stuff where he's like, oh, this is what a transistor does. And I'm like, oh, now it makes sense to me. I understand that. So I just sent him one just as like, hey, I'm a teacher. I appreciate you being a teacher to me that you weren't aware of. So here you go. And he started featuring it. So we got some attention through that and similar channels like that. So yes, just kind of like, let's kind of run with it. Let's see how long we can do this. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And now you're going to NAMM here shortly.
Yes, this will be our third time going. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, so that's a pretty rapid ascent into just the madness that is NAMM, because you're already going for your third time. And I mean, you must have really be a glutton for punishment like the rest of us. What are you doing, man?
Well, so the funny thing, the first time I went was right when they started doing it after COVID, was 23. And
something like that.
A lot of people were saying, you know, oh, that's the small one. It's not like what it used to be and whatever. And people were still complaining that it's too loud and whatever. And I'm like, I teach elementary and middle school. If you ever walk into like a cafeteria at feeding time, like NAMM has I'll sit in the drum room all day compared to sitting in a cafeteria. Like, no thanks, man. Like,
those
I'll do that.
Cafeterias need some sound treatment. Let's be real.
Oh my god, dude,
it's rough.
So bad. It's so bad. But yes, I'm like, I'll go do NAMM. I was like, this is great. This is fun. Like, I enjoy that kind of chaotic aspect of it, you know. But I can completely understand why some people are like, pass. No, no interest.
Yeah, we're fortunately, this will be our third year being by the acoustic guitar section, which is a lovely place to be.
That's a good spot to be.
It's a good spot. Yeah. We're right on the cusp. Like, we get a little bit of blasting from the electric guitars, but we're far enough away that it's a foreign experience to me, because my first few years were walking the floor, basically screaming the whole time, and just leaving every day going like this. And I'm fresh as a daisy comparatively, you know, like comparatively. There, I said it right. Yeah.
We're with the Delicious Audio Stomp Box exhibit. So there's like 20 builders all tucked together. We all like share a space together, and everybody runs like headphone rigs. So for the most part, it's okay. But I remember our first year, I can't remember who it was. So it was some bass company was like right around the corner, so you could just feel the vibrations through the floor for the entire weekend, just like boom, 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 like slap bass. Just, and I'm like, that's starting to drive me a little crazy. Just nonstop like vibrations through the floor.
I think we're talking about the same company. I can't remember their name, but I think they just paid a dude just to sit there and slap the whole show, as if that is going to generate sales somehow. I don't fully grasp that. It's kind of weird, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but I just remember being like, they'll probably stop soon. And then it was like, oh, it's 6:00, and they did not stop.
Yep.
There was a bass company across from us last year, and it was really crazy because I think the craziest thing about NAMM is you're just walking around and you're like, oh my god, there's this like popular person from a band I know. The last day, Leland Sklar was
he's always there.
Yeah, he was just hanging out, sitting across from us like 10 feet away. I was walking around trying to film some stuff, and I passed by Victor Wooten and saw Pete Wentz, the tappy dude from that band.
Yep, the tappy dude from that
band. I'll remember.
I saw a couple of those guys.
There's a lot of those guys.
Yeah. The guitar player from Polyphia, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Oh, yeah, Tim.
Yep.
No, that's his name.
Corey Wong. I got to watch Corey Wong, which I'd never get to see Corey Wong play.
Yeah, last year was Steve's first time going.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And his bass player, Victor Mancuso or something. I don't know. It was insane. Like, I was half the time just walking around like starstruck in a daze because I didn't know what to do. This year we have a list of the things that we want to accomplish, so I'm not just walking 9 miles a day filming stuff and then not using it.
Oh yeah, good idea.
We're learning. We're little and we're learning.
It's been a process.
Yeah, this is probably, and I can't quite put my finger on why. We have some meetings lined up that I am genuinely excited about, but that's not the full reason. We always have some meetings I'm excited about, but I am more excited for this year than I have been since my first NAMM, and I don't have like a reason why. I don't know. I have no idea why I'm so excited about this year, but I feel like I'm really ready to go this year. I don't know why I have that feeling in my gut, but I'm hoping this is going to be a great year for some reason.
Yeah, I'm hoping people have that vibe. I know there's like the whole thing. I said the first time I went, everybody was like, "It's not the same. There's no big companies here," and like even last year, a lot of the bigger companies weren't really doing much. Like Yamaha had like that whole floor,
Mhm.
but like there wasn't like like Gibson kind of did their own thing. Fender didn't really do anything. So I think everybody said like all the big ones should be back this year. So
I
hopefully.
think Fender announcing that they were back, I kind of had heard rumblings of that before they posted about it. I think that really pushed everybody like, all right.
Yeah. I guess.
Even Behringer's back.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, wow.
Behringer quit way before COVID. I don't want to be mixing this up too much, but I'm pretty sure they quit like 2017, 2018. They were like, nope, we're done. Like, not just Behringer, but the whole music tribe thing. Yeah. Supposedly they're coming back this year, is what I've been told.
It's funny, like I had to put in personal days from school to go attend to do this whole thing, and trying to explain to like non-music people, like, so where are you going in January? I'm like, it's like this big thing, and they're like, oh, is it like in a rock club? I'm like, it's in the convention center across from Disneyland, and it takes up like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so wait, so what do you do when you're not at school? I'm like, it's too hard to explain to you. I'm like, I'm sorry.
You know, those things that guitar pedals are such a big part of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And hardly anybody knows what they are. That's the weirdest part to me, is trying to explain that there's this whole subculture centered around these boxes that change your sound from one thing to another. And most people have a vague idea that guitarists use effects. They all know the wah-wah pedal.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, a wah-wah pedal? It's like that, but there's lots of different sounds they can make. That's the best way I can describe it.
I'm like, that's, Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. They're like, yeah. I'm like, the guitar does that. Like, yeah. I'm like, we make it do that.
Yeah.
If I can find some example that
kids aren't going to know that.
Yeah, or be like, I'll try to find something that they have some reference to, or be like, it smells like Teen Spirit. When it gets really cool, that thing. That's the thing where that's what we do.
That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. And then trying to explain NAMM is a whole different level.
Yeah.
What I try to do is, if I know there's an interest, like I have some family that are into firearms. I'm like, it's the SHOT Show, but for musicians. Or they're into cars. Like, it's SEMA, but it's for musicians. But I only know a handful of those other type of things. Yeah.
When Apple shows the new iPhone and everyone loses their mind? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's that, but for like all of musical instruments. And they're like, oh, that's neat.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you make money doing that?
Yeah, it's like,
sort of. Yeah.
The bell rang. I gotta go. All right, we'll talk later.
Nice talking to you later.
Yeah. That's pretty much how my day goes, as I'm like, I don't know how else to explain it to you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm always like mildly excited and slightly terrified when I get the, so what do you do question. I'm like, oh boy.
How much time you got?
How do I explain this in a way? I barely can explain it to people who understand, let alone people who have no reference point for any of this stuff. But fortunately, a big weight has been lifted off my shoulders during that explanation process. Most people know what a podcast is now. And that's helpful.
True. Yeah.
5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, I have this podcast. And they'd be like, what? On YouTube? I'm like, well, mostly not, but kind of, sort of, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, where do people listen to it? Everywhere but that?
Yeah.
What? I don't understand. And people actually listen to that? I'm like, oh, well, this is
what's your age range? Let me find what description I need to use.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's internet radio for guitar nerds.
Yeah.
Sort of. Sometimes.
It's a niche within a niche.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But now it's like, I have a podcast about music stuff. They're like, oh, cool. I can wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Now. A lot of people could not do that 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, even I do a guitar club at our school, and just seeing what kids are into it, and like, I'm like, like everybody who's ever taken guitar lessons, bring me what you want to learn, and we'll start from there. Something you're interested in, and it's just really funny to see like what the kids bring. Like, one kid had some like mumble rap hip hop song, but there is an acoustic guitar in it. So I was like, oh, we can totally learn. We can do that little thing. And he's like, and he could, it's a basic little thing. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, if that's what opens the door for you, man, that's great.
Oh, 100%.
And then we had another kid who was like, "Can you teach me the song I learned on I heard on TikTok?" I'm like, "Yeah, probably. Well, what is it?" And it smells like Teen Spirit. I'm like, "Yeah, buddy.
I got you, buddy.
Yeah, I've done that one a few times. I think we got you covered."
First song I ever learned by myself was that.
I think everybody in our age range is like right in there.
Yeah,
They don't just show up at Guitar Club and ask if they can play Roblox.
No, no.
Well, then you're winning.
Yeah,
you're winning.
I mean, some do, but they don't last long. But it's really, I don't know, it's interesting just to see, because the other kids will show up and be like, "Oh, I really love like 70s classic rock." I'm like, "Who are you?" But like, we can do that, sure. Like, teach them Free Fallin'. They're like, "I just got to move my pinky. This is amazing."
Mm-hmm.
So like, all right, cool.
I had a funny realization last night. Actually, is that my 9-year-old knows the chorus to "One Last Breath" by Creed, and it's the funniest thing in the world to me. I think it's the best thing. I'm like, and then I was trying to explain to him. He was like, "Well, do you like Creed or Metallica better?" And I was like, "Well, Metallica. I do like Creed, but it's not the same kind of like." I really enjoy Creed, but it's for a very different reason called nostalgia that you'll understand when you are older.
We're teaching a very different lesson now.
Creed owes a lot to TikTok. I feel like that's been the big resurgence for them.
Oh yeah,
they've gone viral, which it's funny because back when they were around when we were younger, it was like, oh god, it's a joke. This is butt rock. We called it butt rock.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're like, hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge. And I'm like, yeah, bring it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, when I was like my young punk rock self, I would be like, no.
Yes.
No.
That was
yeah. And now it's changed.
My problem was I was just an angry punk rock kid. I grew up in the time of nu metal. And I wholeheartedly raged against it because I ran with a crew of older punk rock kids. So I was like, I listen to the Sex Pistols and I listen to NoFX and I listen to the Clash and everything else is trash.
Mm-hmm.
And now when things come back, I'm kind of like, all right, yeah, I missed out. This wasn't this is entertaining. I guess I won't take it back because it shaped who I am today and how not miserable I am. Because I had to I was like, oh god, I can't just be the angry punk rock kid as I was as an adult now. That's not conducive to jobs and relationships.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I gotta say, I rock out to the Creed when it comes back on the feeds now.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I grew up during that same time, and I was definitely into punk. I had this really weird kind of blended thing that didn't make any sense, where I wanted to be, I'm so punk and cool. Look at me and the cool bands that I like what you just described. But then I'm also like, no, but I do like Korn. Okay. And that's just what it is. This, I can have both. I realized I could have both and it was fine. But yeah, it is weird. And I feel like I've talked about that a lot on this podcast, that kind of thing is a little bit over. Scenes have just blended together and people just love what they love a little bit more than they did back when we were kids. And I'm like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of hate of music, late 90s,
for
early
no
2000.
reason.
Yeah, it's fine.
I missed out on a lot because I lived through the glory days of grunge, and I attributed grunge to the nu metal stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to listen to Alice in Chains. I'm not going to listen to Nirvana. I listened to punk rock, and
you're like, oh, wait a minute.
I definitely, as I've gone back and really dived into the stuff that I've missed out on, it's like, man, this was really good era of music, and mostly because of the '90s band. But,
I was gonna say, I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah,
that was a funny time. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh well, the funny thing is, being in a '90s band for a decade, you really start to appreciate even the other stuff that are total bangers. Like Spice Girls, Wannabe, super fun.
Sure.
Great
Yeah.
song.
Great song.
I kept lobbying for us to play Britney Spears, and that didn't go through, but I definitely learned it on bass. Those were great songs. Backstreet Boys was we used to cover I Want It That Way, and I sang it, and that was always a hit.
It was
Shania
fun.
Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Yeah, that was
I mean,
That was
90s
really
country is top tier. Let's not kid.
Yeah.
It's great.
One we used to do. Oh God, what was it? Was it Garth Brooks?
No, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus. We used to do Achy Breaky Heart.
Achy Breaky
So
Heart.
we would do it. We would do the first verse and chorus the regular way, and then we would just call out different ways. Like, what if it was a ska song, and then we play it in a ska way? Like, what if it was a punk song? What if it was a death metal song?
Yeah.
And we'd go through it like that. It was really funny for us, but the crowd was not on board.
Then you have the part where
then
you have to start cutting songs. You're like, you can only fit we have like 3-hour sets. You can't fit 10 years into 3 hours. Not everything makes the cut.
Yep.
So we have to like start pulling something. But it was a really cool way to appreciate different genres, different songs that you were like, I hated that as a kid. Then when you actually play it, you're like, actually, that song kind of rips.
Just kidding.
And as a guitar player, it also gave me like a really good reason to start buying more gear, to just like be like, well, if we're going to play that song, I'm going to have to get a crazy reverb pedal or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, we got paid for this weekend's gig. I'm going to go order that, and that should be in for next week. I'm like, nah, that one's not right, but I do probably need that death metal distortion for that one song. Yeah.
You got to have it.
I feel like every gig I was rewiring a pedal board like right before we started. Like, we're gonna try that one now. See how that one works out.
Well, in your normal role as the band dad, you also had all the backup gear for when our other guitar player, who basically dragged his stuff through the mud on the way to the show, when that would blow up, Mark had everything to make it so that we could still play.
A box of cables, and you'd just be like, my tube screamer's not working. I'm like, oh, here, take this one. Use that. We'll sub that out. We'll figure it out later.
Hi. I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Mercury X. My dad's always going on and on about how cool Maris is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations and 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at maris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there.
One Hit Thunder is a podcast where we both celebrate and have a good laugh about bands and artists that had just one hit that we all know. Each week, we're joined by a guest from the world of music or comedy to learn more than you ever thought you would about some songs that you can't forget. And we decide if they brought the One Hit Thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit blunder. Look, if you listen to the show, you're probably going to laugh, and I guarantee you're going to crush next time the bar has music trivia. Tag Team, Jane Child, Meredith Brooks, Looking Glass, Sean Mullins, Eiffel 65, EMF, Crash Test Dummies, Crazy Town, Chumbawamba. We have hundreds of episodes in our back catalog and a new episode each week, so pass the Dutchie, make sure you're connected, and subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your pods.
His tube screamer was so disgusting, I posted it on Pedalboards of Doom, and it went viral. It got like thousands of comments.
I haven't seen this tube screamer. I got to see this. Send it my way.
He had, I think it was like an 80s one, but it was like missing washers and nuts, just covered in filth. Like you had to
Is it like one of the TS10s or something?
It was I think it was 808, the 808 version. Just had like the smaller thing. I think that's what it was. But this thing looked filthy. So like I remember it was right when like we had started the company and doing stuff. So Steve was getting more into the like effects pedal world. And I remember we were like looking at it and just like, that's disgusting. So we took a picture of it and posted it. It was like, hey guys, I was dumpster diving behind McDonald's and I found this pedal. Just like
I was dumpster diving in the under the McDonald's dumpster next to the old abandoned Guitar Center looking for McNuggets to snort. And
so it blew up and got all these shares and likes, whatever. And it wasn't until like 2 weeks later, we're like, we should probably tell him. And we were like, hey man, your pedal's kind of famous in a little guitar world. And he was just like, oh, that's funny. And then the next week he was like, so I cleaned my pedal.
I felt bad. I was like, I wanted to show him, but I was worried that he would get upset, but I showed it to him. And then it was a couple weeks later. He's like, I cleaned all my pedals off. Oh, man. Good job, buddy.
It does lead you to question. I mean, maybe you guys know the answer, but I would see something like that and go like, what's your life like?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, like why are you the way that you are? Why is that like that? I'm so confused right now.
I don't think you know the can of worms that you're opening right now, Blake.
We could do another podcast about it.
That's a whole other. I mean, we were a band for 10 years.
So yeah. That's exactly what I mean, right? Like you see that and you don't want to judge people, but you kind of start developing a story in your head and you're like, this tube screamer didn't get like this on its own.
Buy it that way.
Yeah, it sure didn't come out of the factory that way. Maxon did not put it together like that. So what's the deal?
I forgot about that. That was actually, I think it was pretty disgusting. But yeah, that was like, that band, I think really helped me get more into the gear world just because we were like buying stuff all the time for that. Mm-hmm. And then when it stopped, I was like, well, I have gear that I would need. What am I going to do while we're home? Like, I'll start building. Let's figure out how to make our own gear. So this way, when it gets beer poured on it and drunk people stumble over and fall, I can fix it when it breaks.
100%. So, well, obviously you've dove head first. You got the company, you're going to NAMM, you're doing all the things. But when you take a step back and look at the climate, for lack of a better term, of the gear industry, like where do you see it going? There's so many modelers coming out, but I feel like people are starting to get tired of them and cycling back to a little more old school stuff. I've heard people complain about metal bands' rig rundowns these days because it's all just like, I use a fractal or a neural and that's it. And admittedly, as somebody who interviews a lot of those people, I'm like, well, let's find something else to talk about because that's boring. Where do you see this going?
I mean, the thing that gives me hope, somebody said this once, they were like, people still buy books. Like, the internet exists. You can read anything digital. You can get access to any information, but libraries exist. People still buy and read books. And I think there is something in the world of gear of that's like, it's tactile. You like to have it and you like to own it. And you like to be able to mess with it and sell it and get something else. And I think it's just a more fun way to play. I think building a pedal board that fits you and your needs is kind of like putting together a Lego kit, and that it's kind of fun. It's as much fun to build as it is to have. Whereas if you were like, here's a computer, for me personally, some people, I know this fits your rig and you're into the whole, Kemper, Helix and all that. To me, if it was like, here's a computer full of like all these effects and everything you could ever want, I would still probably be like, well, I don't know, this one and that one, and that's what I'm going to go with. And like never unlock like 99% of it because just there's too much for me personally to go through. I'd rather be like, hey, I just bought a DS1 and I'm going to learn everything that it can do. And when I need something it can't do, I'll buy the next pedal that I need to go through and play with it.
That's when you mod it.
Whoa, what do you got there?
A tremolo and a tunable oscillator by itself.
That's when Steve got into.
You can't do that with a quad cortex.
No, you can't. No, you cannot.
It might just brick and just not work. Yeah.
Warranty invalid.
The blue screen of death. But yeah, I think that's I think there is some nostalgia play with it too, but I think it is also more useful in certain settings because we would play shows with other bands and we would have this talk where like I have 10 pedals on my board and they pull out their even if it's just like a multi-effects unit where they'd be like, well, I have everything I need right here. I'm like, yeah, but if one part of that fails, your entire rig is gone. Like if I have one thing fail, I can just sub it out and I can keep going for the rest of the night. Like, I don't know. I think it's definitely has a place, and I think it's going to come and go with technology, but I think we're always going to come back to having a guitar, having pedals, having an amp.
Yeah, I have over the holiday, I downloaded, legally purchased. That sounds like I stole it. I totally purchased this off the Universal Audio website. I 100%
and phrasing it that way makes it sound like you're totally telling the truth.
I did. I'll show you the receipt.
Price. Money.
Full price. No, I didn't pay full price because they had a sale, and that's why I bought it. Yes. Thank you, Universal. But I have almost every plugin they make that they sell native now because they had a great deal going on. I was like, last purchase of the year, let's go. And so I got almost every single plugin that they have that isn't for their hardware stuff. And I still want a hardware version of the LA2A.
Yeah, right.
That didn't change anything. I still want the real deal. I'm like, yeah, this is great, and I'm going to use it all the time on everything. Like I constantly am in mixes. Still want a real one.
Yeah,
it doesn't change anything.
And I think that's still just the part of being an artist and doing creative things. You want to have your tools. You don't want to like lease your tools or have it be reliant on other things. Like I have my guitar. If somehow Fender puts out a new guitar and whatever, I have my guitar. It's mine. I paid for it. I have my pedals. It's not like, well, the software is not supported anymore. Well, it doesn't matter. It's a pile of components in a case. I own it and it works. And I think that does have something important that can't really be done through digital. Because eventually technology improves and whatever you have won't be supported digitally.
Oh, yeah. I ran into that. I recorded this whole podcast for years on a 2009 Mac Pro.
Yeah.
And it still would work. I spec'd it out. I really went whole hog with it when I bought it. And I was like, this should last a good long time. Physically, yes. But unfortunately, the software just isn't supported anymore. And that's what it is.
Yeah, that's one thing that, as far as like having tools to make music, I mean, I record stuff digitally too, and have plugins, have software, have all that stuff. But that is one of the things that if you hold on to anything long enough that relies on updated software and things like that, like, oh, you might have to upgrade at one point where you're like, well, I bought it because I wanted to use it, and now you're basically telling me I can't use it. So I think going through that enough times, people will kind of be like, whoa, well, I could buy a Rat pedal. I can buy an AC30. They'll be fine. That's gonna work.
So for me, with I have Amplitube, which is a convenient program. I don't buy like pedals for it or anything, but I wanted a triple rectifier.
Sure.
Can't afford a triple rectifier. So for $100, I have a triple rectifier on my computer, which is very convenient. But I don't know. I just can't bring myself to buy like the pedals and stuff. I spent a bunch of money on a really nice interface. I can plug my pedal board directly into that and, just use a cab sim and all that. And, you've got thousands of dollars worth of gear for nothing, basically, in the grand scheme of it. And but for me, I can't. I'm terrible at recording. I'm still trying to learn. I text Mark all the time, like, how do I do this? How do I mic something? I can't mic I can't even mic my Vox and make it sound the way I want it to. So it's nice to just be able to. Yeah, it's nice to be able to just plug a guitar into an interface and do it. But I still like I like my buttons and knobs. I want my pedals to have as many knobs and switches as possible.
I saw that DS1. I understand. You really like to, have control over things. I see. Yes. What I like to do is, like, if I have all the time in the world, this is what I just, every year I think it can't get better gear-wise to be a guitar player, and then it somehow does.
Yeah.
The Boss Tube Amp Expander, when it came out in 19, I was like, man, this thing's cool. And I got one a couple years later, and it is my favorite piece of gear because I can do everything with it. I can plug my tube amp into it, and then I can run it direct to my interface, and then I can also run it to a cab, and I can mic the cab, and I can run both. I can run either a mono line out or I can run a dual line out, so I can have two different line outs from it and a mic cab. I get to have everything, and it's the best. Like, I love it. And I'm like, oh, feels like my amp. I'm still playing my amp.
Yeah.
I love that thing so much. It's expensive, but it's worth every penny for somebody who really loves gear and wants to maximize it. The thing is so awesome.
Yeah, I think once you go down the recording rabbit hole, if you're just like a guitar player who's like, I just want to play with my buddies or, play in church or do whatever, jam with some friends, that's a one thing. But as soon as you're like, I want to start recording all my ideas, you're just opening a crazy realm of just like, how much, what can I do with this? You could do anything you want, buddy.
Anything you want.
There's a million different ways to do it. So like, you thought you were done buying gear? Like,
no. Recording is so dangerous, especially if you have like even a little bit of space.
Oh my God.
It's like you can really do damage.
I should probably use that for my home. I should probably need that for my home studio. Is one of the most dangerous phrases that you can have. Because there's so many things that I was like, do I need to have that other thing? Like, well, you might need it one time, and then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So you should probably get 3. Yeah, I guess I need to get those. That'd be dumb.
You know what? When you put it that way, you're right.
I've definitely run into that world. And I remember we were doing something here, and somebody came over to jam or whatever, and they were like, in my basement's like a shelf just full of pedals. They were like, that's crazy. I'm like, and this was like before I even started building. I was like, oh no, that's just what I have, because I might need a wah-wah pedal one day. Like, yeah, but you have 4 of them. Well, they all wah in a different way. So
yeah,
I don't know.
You might need that distortion pedal that's built into a Game Boy case.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get rid of the Super Fuzz Boy. I mean, that's
I got one. Yeah, of course.
My wife got me that as a birthday present. Like, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I knew that I was in trouble. This would have been probably 7-8 years ago. Robert Keeley came to town for some. I can't remember why he was here, but he was here for something. And I was like, "Hey, Rob, come by the Shred Shed. We'll do a podcast." And Robert Keeley himself came in here and went, "Whoa, it's a lot of pedals." I was like, "Oh, boy.
Yeah,
oh no,
yeah."
Robert Keeley thinks I have a lot of gear. This is a problem.
Perspective's a weird thing.
Yeah, because I know what that guy used to have. Back in the day. He's gotten rid of a lot of it, and he had an insane gear collection, and he's sitting here going like, "Wow, that's a lot of pedals." I'm like, "Oh boy,
yeah."
Wow.
And
I always point to Josh Scott. I'm always like, "Well, I'm not as bad as him."
Yeah, and I'll never get there, so I know that that's totally.
I don't know that. I can't say that last part. I don't know that I'm someday.
fairly certain. Well, yeah, you've been there before and like walked around like, yeah, no, I will not get to having that amount of pedals. That's crazy.
I could see it for me. It's and by the time I'm like retiring and I'm done,
Yeah.
I could see it. Yeah. I've gotten rid of maybe 10 pedals in my entire life, and it was mostly because I had different colors of the same pedal.
Yeah,
So
I get that.
yeah, I was like, I have the cooler version of this same exact thing. How did I end up with 3 of them?
But you could also be Plume's guy.
That could be Plume's guy.
50, or I mean, he's got to have probably close to 100 of different colors of the same pedal now.
I can't quite do that. I can't quite go there.
I have gotten to the point where, like, since we've gone to Earthquaker Day a couple times, I'm like, well, I could probably get rid of my standard ones and replace them with really cool one-off color ones. I should do that at this point. Like, no, you don't need to. They do the same thing. Well, these are the conversations in my head where I'm just like, well, no, I have to do that.
Yeah,
I'd be foolish not to.
That's right.
It's an investment.
Idiot wouldn't
They're
do
worth
that?
more.
Yeah. But this one's blue and it's supposed to be white. I got to get the blue one.
As my wife has pointed out many times, she's like, it's not an investment if you never intend to sell it. I'm like, well, that's a good point.
Well,
I don't intend to sell it,
Yeah.
but my kids one day are going to have a great investment portfolio of pedals and stupid things laying around.
I did have one time where I had to proctor a test, and it was like one of those things where like you have to be here for like 3 hours and you can't do anything, whatever. And so all I had was like a pencil and a piece of paper. And I'm like, what is like the street value of the things that I own? And just started making a list, and I was like, oh God. And I had to go to my wife and be like, so if anything ever happens to me, this is what it's worth. This is what you should get for it. But I'm like, maybe I do have a problem. That's too much gear. I gotta start getting rid of some of that.
But then you're like, it hurts though. Ow,
Yeah, I know.
I might need it.
The reasons that you come up with to not get rid of something are hilarious to me and completely insane. But at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, that person I haven't talked to in 20 years gave me that. It'd be rude of me to sell that thing that was clearly a gift and totally has this. No, just it can go. But no.
If I'm ever thinking about selling anything, I just text Mark. And he's always like, I keep everything. You should, just keep it.
It's
like,
really bad.
I've thought about selling my Boss Katana combo multiple times, and everyone was like, you might need that. I'm like, yeah, I might need that.
You might need that. And you definitely can't get another one of those.
Well, I would sell it now because they just came out with the new version. But honestly, it's a really cool amp.
It is.
You have every single pedal.
I mean, there was that one show we played. So I would always use a AC-15 when we played like bar gigs and stuff. And so I was like checking it, sound check, it's fine. We go to play at like 10 o'clock at night. It blew a tube. And so I was like, well, we don't have backup amps with us. So I was like, oh, Steve lives close by and he has an old PV Bandit. So somebody ran to his house, got this PV Bandit covered in cat hair and dust. And like that got me through the gig. And I was like, all right, cool, get back. We'll get through here. So, I mean, if you had gotten rid of that amp, I would have been in a lot of trouble.
It's still in the basement. Well, I can't sell. That was my first amp. I can't sell that.
No.
You can't, just like you can't sell your first guitar.
That's true.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Good Hertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
Hey, this is Steve Choi, host of the Musicians Guild podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media podcast network. Within the four walls of the Musicians Guild, we'll be discussing the habits, idiosyncrasies, experiences, and general psychology of my friends and peers, all involved with music in various capacities. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hi, this is Chad Nicefield.
And this is Justin Press.
We're the host of Making Waves, the Shiprock podcast, a part of the Sound Talent Media podcast network. We're inviting you to sail away with us on an epic journey in musical enlightenment. Every week, we bring you only the best artists in rock music and discuss everything from the cruise, to the stage, to the saga of being a professional recording artist. We'll have lots of special guests along the way, so tune in every week.
Your stateroom is available every Monday morning, so welcome aboard.
I still have I was just thinking about it the other day. My first bass was a Ibanez sound gear, and it's got a cracked neck. And I'm like, can I buy a new neck? Like, I can't get rid of it. Do I throw it out? No, still perfectly fine bass. It's a bolt on the neck. I can replace that.
Yeah, it's just 4 bolts.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, I
find a piece of wood. We're good.
I'm handy enough. I can unscrew things.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, the first gear thing is interesting because I started out pretty strong, and so I still have my first electric and my first amp, and once in a while I'll plug it in, and be like, this is pretty good. Like it's not perfect. Well, actually, that guitar is probably one of the best sounding guitars I have to this day still.
Yeah.
But the amp was a Crate XT. I think it's XTR 120. Yeah, and that thing chugs. Like it will definitely do the metal. Like it's like, this is why I like this amp. Listen to this.
Part of the reason it took me so long to get into gear was because I loved metal, and the PV Bandit chugs on the modern setting.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I was like, I don't need any pedals. This thing does exactly what I want. It sounds like Metallica. But now I've gone down a scary rabbit hole where I have in the last 3 years I've gone from like 5 pedals to 30. And
it's fun when I stop by Steve's house because for the longest time you just weren't like a big like gear guy, and every time he's like, the collection's growing. Look at my my shrine, and I was like, well, yeah, there's a lot. Obviously, you have the summer school pedals, but you just watch it now. It's like morphed into just like, but I have these other weird things that I got.
I was like, well, I didn't like. I have no use for the Earthquaker Time Shadows, but there was this special red on red print at Earthquaker Day. Like, that's really cool. I need that.
Mm-hmm.
But also after getting it and playing it, that pedal rips. That's a lot
that thing
of fun.
is
It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a slippery slope. I remember I was going through old pictures trying to find some like old shred shed build photos, and because it was like, I didn't take enough pictures of this process. I wish I did more. But I was also stumbling upon my like first descent into pedal land, and I found there's a photo of I don't remember, maybe like 6 or 7 fuzz pedals like on a little flowered chair thing, and I remember taking the picture and sending it to my buddies and being like, isn't this ridiculous? I have 7 fuzz pedals. How stupid is this? And I laughed at my old self. Oh, if you only knew what was coming. This is so silly. You were so in control back then.
Yeah. I occasionally will find those were like pictures from old bands that were in. I'm like zooming in to be like, what's on the pedal board? What did you use? And I'm like, oh, that was not a good choice.
Why did you do that?
Yeah, but at the time, no, that's the greatest phaser in the world. Not really. That one probably didn't need to be there. But
but it phased when you needed it to.
It did. It did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's, I don't know, the gear acquisition syndrome, as they call it, doesn't go away.
You think it does. You think you'll get into a period where you're like, I'm good. I got what I need. And then I'll be like, man, I've never seen a Jazzmaster like that before. What is that? That looks great. I want that. It always comes back in some form when you're least expecting it. You're never once you're in, you're gonna come back. You just have to accept it.
The other problem was I went through a phase where I was super into parts casters, So I would like find like cool reverb builds, and I would justify it like, this is great because you have the parts. If you ever want to do something else, you got them here. So now I'm sitting on like, I don't know, 5 or 6 just parts casters. I'm like, well, I can't sell those because they're who knows what they're worth. There's no way to find a price. So you might as well just keep those laying around.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything out of them. Who cares?
No, they're worth more to you than they are to anyone else. So, which is another dumb lie that you tell yourself. So,
I have some things where that's definitely true. I've got guitars where I'm like, I like that guitar more than most people do, so I'm gonna keep that one.
Yeah,
but I've also only gotten rid of 2 guitars, and I regret one of them, so I tend to not get rid of guitars.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember like the last time I got rid of a piece of gear, which is equally terrifying right now to be like, that was a long time ago. And I think it was I had one of the red knob evil twins, the thin one, that I mostly bought because it came with a road case, and I was like, oh, I need a road case for my other amp. That'll be great. And if I sell the amp, then I get the case for free, basically. But I got it. I was like, this is cool. And I had to bring it downstairs to my basement. And I was like, I think I'm stuck with this thing for a while because that's pretty heavy. And I don't want to carry that back up the stairs for a long time. And then finally I put it on like Facebook and somebody bought it. I was like, all right, cool. That's out of my life. But I think that I'm pretty sure that was like pre-COVID. And I think that was the last time I sold a piece of gear.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I have actively avoided buying amps before because they came with flight cases and stuff. I was like, I don't want that. I'm not going anywhere. That's just going to be in my way.
Well, that was when we were doing the cover band thing. We were playing like 70 shows a year. So you were playing like every weekend. So I didn't want any of my amps to end up like that Tube Screamer we talked about earlier.
Sure.
It's very easy with the amount of beer that gets spilled and drunk people that would throw themselves into us.
Yeah, a lot of the places we were playing, like, there weren't stages. It was just, we're playing 90s covers, but it's pretty punk rock where, like, you're here and the audience is, like, a foot away from you, and they're just, I want to sing along, too. So you're using your guitar to, like, play defense and be like, no, you can back up a little bit. So, yeah, I was like, well, we should probably take care of some of our gear.
Yeah.
The things that are heavy and expensive. We should take care of those.
That makes sense.
I did have a rule at one point in the band where I was like, I can only play pedals that I know I can fix, because if drinks get spilled on them, I want to be able to save them and fix them. So that was one of the rules for a minute.
Nice. Well, we are getting close to the end of the episode, and I got classic questions to ask both of you, so we're going to get started a little bit early with that, because there's 2 of you. Yeah, I know. Look at that logic. But before I do that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the floor, say anything you want to say, shout out your grandma, plug anything you want to plug. Now is the chance. Go for it.
Well, you guys should check out Summer School Electronics. We have a whole bunch of stuff, a bunch of pedals. If you like loud, angry punk rock music, I play guitar and sing in a band called Bridge Under Fire. And I play drums for a millennial dad rock, pop rock kind of group called Against the Giants. So you should check out those bands.
Cool,
Steve,
cool.
what you got?
My shout outs. I never thought I'd be here. I want to shout out to Blake for making me so happy today. And for Mark, because number one, thank you for bringing me on this weird journey where I get to draw cartoon rats and experience all this stuff. And yeah, I told him that if he ever did Tone Mob and didn't have me on with him, I'd quit the company. So that's why I'm here.
This was kind of built into the contract.
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, no, I don't. I'm an old dad. I don't have a whole lot to shout out. But, I'm just happy to be here.
All right, me too. Me too. I agree. All right, here we go. Final questions, and I know you guys prepped for this. First off, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
I'm gonna go with the DD5.
Ooh,
I like that
why
digital
the 5
delay
specifically? Because
the 5 has the external tap tempo. Because the first Boss delay I got was the 6, which didn't have the external jack, so you had to like hold your foot down on it for a second to get it to like flash, And I was like, that's completely impractical playing live or something. So as I was like, doing research over the years, like, oh, the 5 has the thing, and I know this is before I think like the 7 and the 8 have it too, but like that can do too much. My brain doesn't work that way. The 5 is simple enough and has the features that I need.
I like it. Yeah, the DD series is, I think, kind of sonically underrated. I love the DD2 and DD3.
Mm-hmm.
They get a little bit kind of just like lumped in, like, oh, it's a digital delay, who cares? But they have a kind of a special thing that they do that I really enjoy. It's it's not quite as pristine as people think it is.
I know people love the 2. I've never had a 2, but I did have a DD3 for a while, and I liked it. But when we would do longer sets, I did need different delay rates. So I was like, oh, I'll get a 5 because that has the thing. And I'm like, I think that's my favorite, one I've used probably the most.
The 2 and the long chip, quote unquote 3, I'm convinced are the same exact pedal. Like they sound, I can't tell a difference.
Yeah.
I've opened them up and looked inside. I'm like, that looks the same to me. I'm pretty sure the 2 and the early 3s are identical. I know the 3s changed at some point, and I'm guessing they sound really, really close to the originals too.
So you're telling me I got to buy 2 more Boss pedals now? All right, challenge accepted.
Yep.
We will.
Yeah.
I think I can never sell them because Blake told me to do it. He'll be angry if I get rid of these things.
I'll be so mad. I'll be so upset with you.
I guess that's gonna happen now.
Yeah, you don't like me when I'm angry.
I saw that video you lifting crazy weights and chains. I don't need you getting mad at me.
Oh, that's just, to quiet the voices in my head. That's all that is. Steve, what about you?
All right. So yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time, but it was a tough toss up between practical and what I use now. Because I wanted to say the equalizer.
Sure.
The equalizer on both guitar and bass is just like the perfect Swiss Army knife for any situation.
Is that the GE7? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it right. Yeah. But I'm going to have to go with this one.
Okay.
Show and tell.
I'm ready.
I don't even know what this is.
The Boss IR2.
The IR2, a new edition or new-ish edition.
I spent $200 on it. I waited months because it sold out immediately. And it is the ultimate dad guitar player pedal because I can't. It's got like all the amp sounds sound great. I can record with it, and it was such a game changer because the kids don't tell me to shut up anymore. They're like, hey, we're trying to play video game. We're trying to watch TV. Can you turn down? Like, no, I can't. It doesn't sound good if you turn down.
Yeah, they don't understand.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely like that. That it's been a super great just tool to have in the studio.
The IR2, I believe the IR2 was one of the winners of the Guitar Nerds Gear of the Year episode. I think that was like the 3rd runner-up or something. I don't know. We argued about it for hours, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the things. But
I remember I was listening to that, and it was when Steve had ordered his, but his hadn't come in yet. So I was like,
I waited so long.
I'm like, it sounds awesome. I want to check it out, but I'm going to wait for Steve to get his.
Sure, of course.
So I'm just hearing about it, knowing it's on the way, but I can't check it out yet.
All right, final question. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
All right. I know this is going to be a thing. I like Hawaiian. I know that people got issue with that. I know.
Nobody's perfect.
My favorite, believe me, not even close. My favorite pizza place, though, that I got to shout out, Nurchi's Pizza in Binghamton, New York. It's amazing. It's great. It was like my college pizza. It's awesome. Go to Nurchi's in Binghamton, New York.
All right. Steve?
The kids are not super adventurous with any sort of food, so we usually just end up with a good pepperoni pizza is always good. We have a place here in Camillus called Doc's that's really good. But my pizza, my special pizza, Toss and Fire Pizza. They have a couple places, but the Bit of a Pickle pizza, Detroit style, is fantastic.
Tell me more about that one.
It is garlic olive oil, mozzarella, cheddar, dill pickle, applewood bacon, and ranch drizzle. And it is amazing. And especially Detroit style with the slightly thicker crisp crust. Oh my God. It's so good.
Normally I can't, I avoid the ranch most of the time. But I think in this particular flavor combo, I can see it.
It's slight because I'm a blue cheese person. Like with wings and pizza, I'll pick blue cheese. But the ranch and this one, I don't know. It's just super good.
Yeah, it seems like a combo I can get behind. All right, you pass. All right.
I like watching Blake do the math in his head. He's like, okay, so you did have the pickle with the apple. I don't know. Carry the 3 and all right. I think this one's okay.
I think it might be okay. It was dicey there for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, but it was. I think this could be okay.
I know that look.
Yeah, I gotta think about things, and he's like, I gotta make sure I'm like tasting it with my brain right now, trying to see if that's gonna really be an acceptable answer. But yeah, I think I could give it a try. I'm so hungry. I haven't ate today, so I'm pretty hungry. I'm amazed that I haven't just started eating this microphone. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This is a really fun conversation. It makes me feel like I'm not alone in this world, which is important. Like there are more of us. There are dozens, literally dozens of us. Yeah. And we are all afflicted by this gear acquisition syndrome, and I feel pretty good about it. Actually, I feel better now than ever. So thank you guys for taking the time.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Thank you. It's been a dream.
I'm looking forward to meeting you, Steve, at NAMM, because I've met Mark, and I'm looking forward to that too. But it's happened. It's happened.
Well, we met.
We did. Oh no! Don't say that publicly. I can't remember everything.
It's all right.
No, it's okay. I'm not important. I'm not the guy. Mark's the guy. I'm the guy that threatened to quit if he didn't have me on the podcast. So.
Okay, well now I feel bad. So there's that.
Steve's
now I'm
artist.
leaving the episode feeling bad, and now I don't know what to do.
It's okay. Steve is so forgettable. It's totally cool.
Yeah,
I forget about him all the time.
Sometimes I come home from work and my family's like, "Who are you?"
Get out of here, please.
Yeah, he's just a guy.
Get out of here before my husband comes home. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You are him. Yeah. Maybe I'm self-reflecting right now. Maybe.
This is a deep podcast. We're getting some heavy issues here.
Taking a change of course.
I kid. Actually, maybe I don't. You'll find out on Patreon, everybody. We're going to get into some more juicy topics over there. So let's slide over there and see what happens. That work for you guys?
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
All right. For Mark and Steve, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, folks, there you have it. There's another episode in the can. If you want to hear us get real weird and Steve say some stuff that he was probably supposed to keep under his hat, go over to Patreon, where for $5 a month, you can get access to the ad-free feed, no advertisements over there. And you can also get access to extra bonus episodes every single week. And you get access to my heart and my eternal gratitude, because you literally help keep the internet on over here so that I can do this show. The Patreon supporters have been immense with that. I cannot tell you how much they have saved my skin over the years. It is an immense thing. I know it doesn't seem like something like that would move the needle, but I promise you, it really does. And if not for me, pick another creator, pick another artist, pick somebody that you really enjoy and go support them over on whatever platforms they have available. It's tough out there for everybody, but that $5, that $7, that $12, it really does make a huge difference for independent creators. So thank you so much to everybody that does that. Thank you for listening this long, and please share this with somebody that you think would enjoy it. Please share your favorite episode with your favorite person, and that helps out immensely. Throw a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this, and don't forget that there is more over on YouTube these days. I just published a fantastic episode that you may have listened to, but now you can watch, with Shermie from the Surfrajettes, and the response over there has been kind of insane. I did not expect it, but it is great. So please check that out. I've got more videos coming. And again, don't forget to say hi at NAMM. And I think that's enough. Let's get this episode wrapped up so you can go do something, super productive. All right, later, folks. Bye-bye.